I mean, we loved him dearly. Yeah, no.
Okay. All I'm saying in this situation right here is, if you're not that good of friends with somebody, you're not this person's best friend, don't say the shit. To say that you are somebody's best friend, and then when it comes time to describe that person and to describe how you feel about that person, this is your response. Immediately, people read body language and they see what's going on here. It just looks very, very, very made up. All right, y'all. All right. Let's take a look at this Nolan Wells situation. We got J. Megan, who is back with some new info. She breaking down the timeline of that night with all the things that Nolan Wells' friends were saying. Let's take a look at this.
Little liars. I told y'all that Jax was the ringleader. I told y'all. He sat in this interview and he was telling stories about shit that he wasn't even there to witness. So let's break down some of the stuff that I heard in this interview. Let's start with Warren's first phone call, because y'all will remember that Warren said that he was over at Ava's house for that 4th of July party when they all started realizing that Nolan was missing, and he called Miss Christine at 11 o'clock.
One of the first things I told Miss Christine Wells in the first phone call that ever occurred with anything to do with Nolan Wells being gone, because I was the first person to call Miss Christine about anything. First phone call, anything to do with Nolan Wells, was me making a phone call to Christine Wells. And one of the first things I said to her, with multiple witnesses here, pull up the phone call if you want. She said, oh, well, Nolan's location is with y'all at, where the house we were at. And I was like, well, no, he left his phone with us. I told her this.
And yesterday, the same time that this interview came out, Christine Wells said this.
360 says that he's on land, and he was like, well, no, I mean, when we have his phone.
So both versions of the story say that Warren didn't tell her about the phone until after she confronted him with the 360. Now, Warren tells Miss Christine that he knows somebody in the Coast Guard and that he's going to call them, which is very fucking different than calling the Coast Guard, which absolutely explains why the Coast Guard came out and said at first that they had not received a call from the kids that...
Damn. You see, man, look, it's so much stuff that's just, it's floating around here that don't seem right. And this is another one. You calling somebody that he knows somebody in the Coast Guard. But the Coast Guard got this message that they put out and they're like, we ain't received no call from them. As of today at 11:48 a.m., BigZoe has reached back out to say that that was not the first time the Coast Guard was contacted. The Coast Guard corrects themselves, saying they did receive a call from a friend of Nolan Wells on the 4th.
The Coast Guard's initial statement said they weren't informed until 12:30. Then the Coast Guard later changed their story and said, oh wait, actually we did. And it seems to me that first call was most likely an off the record to a friend kind of deal, which means these people freaked out and didn't call the Coast Guard until after all these people showed up at Jax's house. Which would explain why in the course of this interview it went from Warren called the Coast Guard to we did. Now, when the subject turns to how the family got the phone back from these boys, you'll notice that there was a couple slip-ups.
Warren, you weren't at the house, and so you weren't there when they came to get the phone and all that. So
now remember, Warren just said that he wasn't at the house when the phone was got. And then Morgan talks about getting a phone call from one of the people in Christine Wells' group.
And how did they get the phone back?
So I got a call from a kid we went to high school with. He called me just asking me questions. He saw people posting on Snapchat, like the picture that was circulating.
Except this picture wasn't posted until July 5th. Well, how could this picture have been circulating on Snapchat that night? But let's continue.
And he called and he was asking questions. He was like, where's Nolan? When's the last time y'all seen him? And then he was like, so where are y'all at? And I told him, I said, we're at Jax's house. And then Warren got on the phone, and I don't know. So they come.
But Warren wasn't there, right?
To my house, right? And they kind of
hold on, before we get there. Was it confrontational or was it just trying to find? It was confrontational already.
Wouldn't y'all agree?
Yeah,
he was 110%.
He was very
confrontational.
And when did this Was this on the night of the 4th or the next
this
day?
was the night when this was before they came and got the phone.
So this is the night of the 4th, yes.
You guys are missing a part of the story. How did you get from Ava's house to Jax's house? Because Miss Christine is watching you guys on the Life 360, so suddenly she's seeing the phone leave one location and go to another. Of course I would be upset. And now all of a sudden Warren is there when the phone stuff starts happening? He's listening to the phone call? Now I need y'all to remember that Warren also said that the phone was in his truck on the first conversation, as we have from this report. Meaning, if we were to believe Warren that he was not there when everybody showed up looking for the phone at some time in between 11 and 1 a.m., so then that would mean after they heard this angry phone call, Warren gets the phone out of his vehicle and puts it in Jack's house and then leaves.
There's probably like 10, 15 people in my house I don't even know. And they're all up in our faces, going crazy, asking where Nolan is, and we don't know. And finally they get into Wyatt's face, and they're like, "Where's your boat? Where's the boat at?"
Demanding his address.
Demanding his address and stuff like that. And he finally ends up giving it to him. We give them the phone. They have the phone at this point. Then they get the address to his house. Then they go to his house. And they're searching all over his boat, what I heard and stuff like that. Well, anyways, I don't really know much about that, but they come back to my house at around 1 o'clock in the morning.
We called law enforcement. I was with Wyatt at the time. After we left Jax's house that night, I was with Wyatt, and one person we were with saw that their location was headed towards Wyatt's house. And so Wyatt got on the phone with 911 and was like, "Hey, these people are on the way to my house, or already at my house. My mom and my dad are there alone, and they know nothing about this." But Wyatt's mom actually, when they were looking at the boat, they were actually walking from the boat, and she came out and started talking to them.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Wyatt, Morgan, and Jax were all together. Warren was gone for some reason at this point. 10 to 15 people just barge into your house. Don't know why your grandparents weren't around. That might explain some things, huh? Guess y'all had the house all to your fucking self that weekend. But then they ask Wyatt for his address so that they can go look at the boat. Wyatt gives them the address. They start heading over there. Wyatt and Morgan get into a car and leave Jax's house. Somebody else that you were with that we aren't hearing about is tracking someone else's phone. I don't know if it was somebody who was with the group that they had access to, or if they were tracking Nolan's phone and they saw it was heading to Wyatt's house. And even though Wyatt gave them the address, and instead of calling his parents, he calls 911 and tells them, "My parents don't know anything about that's going on. Can you send police over there?" Now, mind you, it was about half an hour after being on the phone with Warren that Christine was able to actually call and report him missing. But she was having to go back and forth and go down to all these different agencies because nobody would fucking help her. And frankly, I want to know why all of this confrontation was left out of the fucking report. Like, if this family had to be removed from 2 different properties by the police, why is there no record of that? And in fact, it wasn't until after these confrontations that MDMR and Ocean Springs Police apparently had their little conversations about who was going to be taking over the case. Because remember, the Jackson County Sheriff Lieutenant told them that deputies had spoken with several friends that had traveled to the island on the vessel with Nolan, and that when they were left, he was in the company of an unknown female. So now, even though Warren had supposedly called the Coast Guard, all these family members are telling the police that the kid is missing. These are the people that last saw them. They're all like, "We last saw him on the island." Still, the deputies said that they did not have reason to believe that there was any water-related exigencies or emergencies. Don't worry, y'all. I've got a lot fucking more to say about this stuff, so come back for part 2. I'm gonna be immediately recording it because Warren fucked up pretty badly in this interview. And all.
Hey, look, man, this lady been on it. She ain't playing. And look, man, they are just saying things that are contradicting each other and each other's statements. And you don't got to remember the truth. The truth is easy to just say when you just talking about what the hell happened, bruh. But you got to remember a lie, though. And it seems like it's hard for these boys to just remember this story that they putting out there. Now, again, I do want to say that I don't know what happened. We all don't know what happened. happened, but people are trying to find out what happened. People are trying to look into the details that they have and they putting it together. And this woman right here is looking at all the details. Trust me. So she got a part 2 of this where she talks about the timeline. Let's look at part 2.
Oh, where we had left off, Warren had already called Miss Christine, and then they somehow ended up at Jax's grandparents' house. That's where they all stayed that weekend, and so that's why Nolan's keys were over there. They had to have been at the grandparents' house, who mysteriously never showed up during any of these confrontations. Somehow the phone had gone from the party that they were all at to Jax's place, and then Warren left after a phone call to Morgan. According to them, 10 to 15 people showed up and just walked into Jax's house and demanded the phone. Wyatt gave the address in which the boat was at. They all start migrating over there. Then Morgan and Wyatt and another friend are tracking their 360s and seeing that they're going over to Wyatt's house. Then they call 911 to tell them that the police are on the way to his house. Then they're searching the boat, and then they come back to Jax's house around 1 o'clock in the morning, according to him. Mind you, that's when they explain to the police about their friend being missing. And so then the report says at 1:38 in the morning, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office say that they spoke to several of the friends that were on the vessel with Nolan, saying that he was in the company of an unknown female. But Morgan, Jax, and Warren all claimed that they did not travel to the island on the same boat as Nolan. So who did they talk to? Because it sounds to me like they had told the police that they were on the same boat as him. Keeping in mind that this is what Warren told Miss Christine.
Named Katie. And so then it turned into,
See this shit? The stories are different. The accounts are different.
Katie is also missing. No one can find her. And the explanation of no one knows this Katie, like we've never met her.
And Tristan said this.
I was talking on my other buddy's phone, talking to Warren. He was dialing Coast Guard because he hung up the phone and was like, hey, this is them, bye, and hung up the phone. And that was the last time I talked to him.
Mind you, Tristan is friends with Katie. They are mutuals. I have confirmed this. So now that we've got that timeline fucking straight, let's
My gosh, bro.
back up to something that Warren said during this interview.
If you're motivated enough to do it, yeah. Like, I made a phone call to my mom, and I had to call her like 8 times before she picked up because either her service was bad because she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side, or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
Do y'all see that? Let me play it again slower for you.
Either her service was bad because she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side, or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
Oh no, not only did Warren confirm that his mom was on the south side of the island, but Warren himself said that if you're motivated enough, you can call somebody. I tried calling my mom 8 times, yet this is what he said last time.
A little off the island, you have cell coverage, and even on the island, like I called my mom when we were on the island, it was fine.
So which is it?
So it was fine, but then when you talking about other things, now the cell phones is spotty. But it was fine when you was making a call. It's fine on the island. This is what I'm talking about. You hear one thing now, and then you hear another thing later. It's like almost as if they say one thing, and then now they talk to somebody, and they tell them to rephrase it, and they try to say something else. This is insane.
Did you call your mom with ease, or did you try to call her 8 times because you were motivated to get in touch with her? But Warren wasn't the only one to slip up, because listen.
And he's on the phone with Cito, and he's trying to get them on the phone. And as he stated in the moment, he's like, Cito's just asking all these dumb questions. I can't figure out what's going on. And so finally hangs up, and after the trim to the motor started to work again. So they manually trim it down by the buttons on the motor, trimmed it down, and some electronics started to come back on, and they got the boat to crank over, and they're like, all right, untie us.
So first off, Jax just proved that the boys put the phone on mute during the call with Cito, because I've listened to the entire 8-minute call, and at no point did they ever say anything about them asking all these stupid questions. Then he said after they hung up on the Cito, that's when it started working again, and they said, okay, untie us, implying that it had been tied up to the other boat the entire time. But we see in this video that they are hauling the line back in right here as he's on the phone. So you can see right here where the line is being pulled in from across the way where the boat is stationed, meaning he had already hung up with Cito at that point, and he had to have been on the phone with someone else.
Yo. Hey, man. Hey. Oh, man. Hold on now. That is a fact. These are great observations, man. Like, god damn, these are great observations. Wow. Cause that was a story that he was on the phone with Cito. So why is he hauling the line back? Who's he on the phone with?
And what we see here is, once again, we have an interview where they go into so much detail about stuff that doesn't fucking matter.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and first off explain a boat.
We fucking get how a bilge pump works. We get it by now. Stop fucking talking about the bilge pump. What we actually want to hear about is the multiple stops that were made before ending up back at the grandparents' house before they even took the boat to the boat dock. We want you guys to explain how the Cito was canceled by the grandfather on the captain's private line before you guys had even hung up with Cito. That's why nobody believes a fucking word that you are saying. Because I showed y'all yesterday how AI had clearly doctored these photos. If you missed it, look silver pole. Look, no silver pole. It's actually...
Oh my gosh, bro. Dog. This is a lot, man. It's so much, like, God damn. Like, it's so hard to know what to believe at this point. It's like, what are you even, like, looking at? But this is why all these details matter, man. All these details are important.
White. And if you look at this picture in the grandparents' driveway of the Triton, you will see that the little handrails are not leaning over. You will see that the rails are going straight up and down and not leaning, which is why I also suspect that the identity of whoever this is was intentionally covered up, because first off, who wears this weird swimsuit thing? This is somebody who, if they were with them, would have stood out in a crowd. But this woman who's in a red striped swimsuit with a white baseball cap shows up in a lot of different pictures, just oh so obscured. Here she is again, handing out beers on Bart's boat. So I personally suspect that whoever that was in fact on the Triton, and they used AI to change her clothing and to obscure her identity. Because I think this was either Warren's mother or Wyatt's stepmother, which would
Shit.
explain the older female voice people have said they've heard on the Ceto. Because otherwise, why would he need to call his mother 8 times? Unless, according to his own words,
If you're motivated enough to do it, yeah.
because remember, there is a 4th boat out there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Holy fuck, I just accidentally stumbled onto something that literally is concrete proof. Oh my god, next video coming. Oh my god! Alright, I don't want to leave you guys hanging, so why don't I just try and post this picture of the bow of the Triton, and let's see if you guys see what I see. Right here and right here. There's 2 of them. And look how deep they go. Maybe that's why Wyatt started freaking out and called 911 when they said they were going to go over and search the boat. Don't worry, I'll be back to talk about it and elaborate and go over some new timeline stuff tomorrow. But I should also mention that they are designed to hold fish.
Listen, man, this whole thing is crazy. This whole story is insane. As things are coming out and things are being uncovered, I think it's very important for people to ask questions. I think it's very important for people to look into details like this woman has been doing. I think it's important. Nolan Wells' family has already said that they encourage people to do their own independent investigations responsibly. So, I just think there's so many things that can be uncovered here. And there's so many things that are strange. And one of them also is this, right? And this could be anything, but this was very eerie to me too. Look at this.
We loved him dearly.
Okay. All I'm saying in this situation right here is if you're not that good of friends with somebody, you're not this person's best friend, don't say the shit. Because if you're not, it's gonna make you look crazy when people realize that shit, especially with a situation like this. To say that you are somebody's best friend, and then when it comes time to describe that person and to describe how you feel about that person, this is your response. Immediately, people read body language and they see what's going on here. It just looks very, very, very made up. Look at this one more time.
We loved him dearly.
Nolan was like a brother to us, and I can say without
What we talking about here, man? This is your best friend, though.
a doubt, nobody wants to know what happened to him more than we do. I mean, we want to. Nolan was like a brother to us, and I can say without a doubt, nobody wants to know what happened to him more than we do. I mean, we want to know what.
Nolan was like a brother to all of us. We loved him dearly.
Nolan was like a brother to us, and I can say without a doubt, nobody wants to know.
I don't know about y'all, man, but the body language ain't really giving like brother to me, man. That's just me. Body language looks a little off. It just looks crazy to just be out here like saying that's my brother, this, that. If he's your friend, say he's your friend. I think overly trying to say like that's my brother and all this other stuff, that's when it gets a little strange. I just think the body language to me just don't look conducive to people who are saying this is my brother, my best friend. You know what I mean? Another thing I just want to mention again is I just want to to mention the phone thing, right? The phone has been a topic of discussion. It's been one of those things that people are saying, well, why they don't have the phone, this and that. And y'all heard the lawyer on their side basically go and say that the family wasn't cooperating. Y'all probably heard Race Batum Tatum say the same thing. But the fact of the matter is that the phones are basically being held because they want to have a joint meeting so that they can go over it together, because at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is they don't trust them. And rightfully so, man. They don't trust them. They probably not going to say that, but that's definitely what it is. They don't trust them.
Over the last couple of days, you've heard me say that the family is waiting for the district attorney to get in touch with them to schedule that joint investigation and cell phone extraction. We just found out on August 13th, which was literally just 2 days ago, that said district attorney Mickelrath of the Jackson County, Mississippi, decided to send another letter to the family stating, you have 48 hours to drop off the cell phone. I'm sorry, is that the same thing as a joint investigation when the words are, you have 48 hours to drop off the cell phone? Or you have...
That's what's strange about this whole thing. Why not just do the joint investigation of the phone? Why do they want them to specifically drop it off? What is it that they want to do independently on this phone with this phone? And to give them this update that they have 48 hours to drop it off, why? Why not go through the joint review of the phone so that both parties can be satisfied, right? If we're all looking for answers, satisfy both parties.
48 hours to, possess the cell phone for us. Is that the same thing as saying we're going to have a joint investigation? Don't you worry, I'm going to show you the letter right now. Here is the actual letter sent from A.R. Smith, the same attorney that sent out the letter on August 11th. I want to point your attention to right here. To date, Nolan's parents remain willing to facilitate an appropriate forensic examination of Nolan Wells' phone, including FBI involvement, according to our agreement on July 15th. However, your letter sent to Eric Hertz on August 12th at 12:51 p.m. set a deadline for Wednesday to deliver the phone to your office by August 14th at 9 a.m. This is not practical for a number of reasons. Now, that's a 2-page letter. I just showed you one of the excerpts. But the reason why it's not practical is 2 big reasons. And again, this is in that actual letter if you guys want to look it up. The first reason was that you agreed that there would be a joint investigation into the cell phone extraction investigation. But you're saying you need to drop the phone off at the office on August 14th at 9 a.m. That doesn't strike me as a joint investigation. That strikes me as, give us the phone, we'll go through it, and then we'll get back to you later. The second reason why it's impractical is because at the time, the Wells family was actually nowhere near.
That sparks a whole bunch of questions. Again, why do y'all want to review the phone independently? Why can't y'all do a joint investigation of the phone? If all we want is answers here and all people want to do is find out what happened, what is the scariest part about doing a joint investigation of that phone? Why is it that now they're sending letters giving them timelines to which they have to return the phone? These are the little things happening within this investigation that don't make sense, and they make people ask questions. Because the same time they say things like this, they don't explain why they can't do a joint investigation all of a sudden. And for this family, the fact of the matter is they don't trust these people. They don't trust y'all with the phone. They don't trust to give y'all the phone for y'all to do what y'all need to. They don't trust it. They would rather have this be a joint investigation, joint review of this phone. And I don't think that's a hard ask.
The second reason why it's impractical is because at the time, the Wells family was actually nowhere near Mississippi or nowhere near an area where they could actually drop it off and be compliant with that deadline. So those are the 2 main reasons why. Now, again, you guys can read the letter yourself, but this now makes sense. This is why the family is so concerned, and this is why the family is so upset, because the DA now is essentially going back on what they said, saying, we want you to drop off the phone on August 14th, when on July 15th, they said, we will do a joint investigation together.
What changed? You know what I mean? What changed between that time? You see how strange this gets? What changed? Because if you agreed to it the first time, what changed to make you want to go back on that? Things that make you wonder.
This is why the Wells family is so frustrated with this investigation. And this is why they're trying to get the Department of Justice involved. This is why all the leadership are getting involved in this, is because the family was under the expectation that the district attorney in Jackson County, Mississippi, was going to do a joint investigation based on the July 15th meeting. We just found out they may not want to do a joint investigation anymore. They're asking the Wells family to drop off the phone on August 14th at 9 a.m., which is already passed. But still, just drop off the phone.
I wouldn't trust that. I wouldn't do it. How could you trust anybody right now? And you gotta understand the way that family feels right now. How can they trust these people? I mean, these are the same people that came out, said there was no foul play before there was even an investigation. They came out and said things that they felt were predetermined already. And had it not been for the countless amount of people covering this, all the people talking about this, talking about these different things, who's to say where this would have gone, if anywhere? Man, this is crazy. Now, the other point I want to make is also the fact that when we talking about phones, Warren basically talking about how he had to call his mom 8 times. Why are you calling your mom 8 times? He said you can make a phone call on Horn Island if you're motivated enough. What was the motivation?
Back up to something that Warren said during this interview.
If you're motivated enough to do it, yeah. Like, I made a phone call to my mom, and I had to call her like 8 times before she picked up because either her service was bad, because she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side.
On the back side of the island? Oh, hell no. What the hell? She was on the backside of where? Hold on.
On the south side, or my service was bad. Her service was bad because she was on the back side of the aisle on the south.
Backside of the island. But she said she wasn't on the island. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? And then people go crazy when people say, what about this? But what about that? They go crazy. Something is not right, man. Something is not right. There's too many questions. There's too many holes, too many contradicting statements. One person says they was not there, and then you almost slip up and say backside of the island, and then you catch yourself and say, what now? Come back to it.
Either her service was bad because she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side, or my
backside of the aisle? Was he's about to say island? Because remember, she said she wasn't there.
My service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
Do y'all see that? Let me play it again slower for you.
Either her service was bad because she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side, or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
Oh no. Not only did Warren confirm that his mom was on the south side of the island.
Man, come on now. Come on now. Y'all see this? Come on now. Now, they are saying his bio mom or his stepmom. Who is he referring to? Okay, so his actual mom. It says his actual mom said that she was out there in a message to Boogie the Blowdown. You can find it in Facebook photo. Man, look.
I think it's weird, you know? When Warren sat down with the guy, I know you don't like to say his name, I was like, okay, this one kid and his mom is a judge and maybe he wants to sort of clear his name. But now every week another friend sits down, and now they've got this lawyer and they're sitting down and doing interviews. It's weird to me. And it's not just weird. Yeah, people are going to say things on the internet. Why does that rise to the level of you need an attorney to now sit down and do interviews to publicize yourself, to try and change the court of public opinion? Why do you care about a court of public opinion? Because you didn't do anything. And ultimately, if you didn't do anything, that's all going to come out when the results of the autopsy come out, when the investigation comes out. Like, this attorney has probably convinced them, yes, do this and talk about this and it'll change public opinion. But what it really does, some people will look at it and go like, well, what are you getting out in front of? If you didn't do anything, there's nothing to get out in front of. So in some ways, it can backfire on you. It's just weird to me. And then you also run the risk of what did happen is that one of these kids sits down and blasts Nolan's mom and says that she was wrong to put out that photo.
The fact that she posted a picture of me and Morgan and another guy and Nolan on the boat together, blasting that out there.
Like, that's not gonna play well in the public for you, man. That you're attacking the mother of your best friend, who you're so distraught about losing him, yet you're doing an interview where you're attacking his mom. It's just stupid. Like,
this was just sent to me in my inbox, and then I was quite shocked. I was like, holy crap. So then this is whose page it on, but
So this says there's a video of Carter getting ready to climb into someone's boat, but Warren grabs him and takes him off the boat, and they go to Wyatt's boat. As everyone walks back to Wyatt's and Bart's boat, Nolan is speaking to Katie McCormick at the shoreline. Wyatt is screaming for Nolan to get on the boat. Nolan leaves Katie at the shoreline and gets on a boat. While on the boat, a huge confrontation occurs between Warren and Nolan as a witness states. Nolan is heard screaming at Warren to give him back his phone. So Nolan doesn't get off the boat to speak to Katie again. Could this be another scenario to where he wanted to go back, but they wouldn't give him his phone? He remains on the boat, so the last people to see Nolan was Warren because he was having a huge confrontation with him. All the other people on Wyatt's boat, including Wyatt, was the last to see and be with Nolan. I'm wondering if any of the boys recorded the MMA fights. Did Nolan record Carter's fight in which he got his ass kicked, and he might have been pissed about Nolan recording the fight? May explain why Warren took Nolan's phone from him and didn't want to give it back. Didn't Nolan's mom say Nolan's Snap account was tampered with and also pics were deleted off his phone? I'm wondering where there pics of Carter's MMA beatdown. Just wondering.
This was just sent to me in my inbox, and then I was quite shocked. I was like, holy crap. So then this is whose page it's on, but that's whose page it's on, but she said that she's not the original poster. And then when you click in the comments, she says that she's trying to find the original poster. Holy camoli.
I'm trying to locate the page I found it on, but whoever she is was spot on. There's a video of Carter getting ready to climb. Okay, so there's a video of Carter getting ready to climb onto someone's boat, but Warren grabs him and takes him off the boat, and they go to Wyatt's boat. Okay, let's zoom in here, see what this looks like. So a video of Carter getting ready to climb onto someone's boat. So this is Carter.
More and more every day, y'all. And just so we're clear, people can state public opinion. Public opinion is okay to state. We are allowed to ask questions, okay? It's not illegal to do so.
Regardless about what the internet says about our relationships with Nolan, we know from the bottom of our heart who Nolan was to us and who we were to Nolan. And at the end of the day, I could say this confidently. We were Nolan's closest friends.
Yeah, look, man, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of things that'll make you question everything that's going on, man. And people have a right to their public opinions, you know. And only time will tell where this is going to go. We're going to keep following it. We're going to keep it in the spotlight. We're going to keep people talking about it because there needs to be answers. We need answers, and there needs to be some justice, man, you know, for whatever happened. In whatever scenario, I think the most important thing is people need answers. So y'all stay tuned. Y'all stay locked in for the next video. I appreciate y'all locking in with me and watching. Till next time, y'all know the vibes. Let's go.
It's not enough. Few solid niggas left, but it's not enough. Few bitches that are really step, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on their ass. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I made them niggas mad. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I change the G-pad. Yeah, watch a nigga do it. We survived outside, all from the music, nigga. What are we? They like, what he on? This is Alpha and Omega, bitch. Welcome home. This is not a song. This is a revelation. How to get a nigga gone.